Hello, it is Creature, and welcome to the very first Warhammer Wednesday. And since it is Warhammer Wednesday, and Slanesh is currently giggling at the amount of Warhammer nerds collectively creaming their pants like a mini Eldar murder bang orgy, since the new God Emperor of Nerds, Henry Cavill, is making a live-action Warhammer show that no one knows a damn thing about, I'm going to be talking about Warhammer videos. Now, I myself am a Warhammer nerd, a fledgling one in terms of models, but I've been taking to the lore and stories since I was in high school. And I always thought the Dark Angels were pretty cool whenever I was a kid, and now being a man kid with a disposable income, and I have a decent amount of Dark Angels minis. I like Dark Angels, they're badass, and the topic of another Warhammer video coming soon, but imagine my shock of finding that the hashtag Aramite Armored God King known as Henry Cavill is not the first to make a live-action 40k piece of media. In fact, one of the oldest ones, if not the oldest ones, was actually made back in '96 before I or most of my viewers were even born. And it stars the Dark Angels, and not those uppity bitches from a crag.
No, I don't like you. I think you're a fake cop. The sound of your piss hitting the urinal? It sounds feminine. If we were in the wild, I would attack you. Even if you weren't in my food chain, I would go out of my way to attack you. If I were a lion and you were a tuna, I would swim out in the middle of the ocean and freaking eat you! And then I'd bang your tuna girlfriend.
The topic of today's video is indeed Inquisitor, the 1996 Warhammer mini-movie made by GW to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Warhammer. So, let's take a look into one of the 40k movies you've never heard of. The movie opens up with a title drop, and what sounds like some sort of Duke Nukem music behind it. We then get a minute-and-a-half long shot of these gargoyles as the movie is giving us the opening credits, and we get a better title drop. When the movie starts, we get a shot of two Imperial battleships coming out of the warp, and they start to what seems like saturation bomb a planet. We then have an establishing shot of Admiral Atreus? I'm gonna call him Admiral A, who is watching over the bombardment of the planet, and he is then joined by a Dark Angels captain, Darius. Now, I'm just gonna say, the movie's kinda hard to watch. It's pretty old, it's like 30 years old now, it's very grainy, and it was very obviously made on a shoestring budget. But in terms of a lot of other things, I genuinely think it holds up well and is pretty fun to watch, if not a slightly difficult. It's funny to think back in 95 or 96 that a small team made a live-action 40k video and are still more faithful to their source material than Amazon was to the Rings of Power. Anyway, Darius is told that he will be assisting an Inquisitor on a mission to Gatherion Prime, and as it turns out, Darius was on a recent mission with Inquisitor Krieger, where 10 Dark Angels fell in battle attempting to secure the relic, and Krieger being the only survival with no memory of the event. And surprise, the Inquisitor that Darius is going to be helping is Inquisitor Krieger. Krieger attempts to big dick everyone.
May I remind you both that I represent the Inquisition.
And Darius, in essence, tells him to go fuck off in 40k terms.
Let me remind you that I am in command of the Emperor's Marines on this mission, Inquisitor. The Dark Angels are not as disposable as they have seemed in the past.
Darius offers Krieger to take 5 of his Marines that will be arriving via drop pod, and that he will be one of those 5 Marines.
Consider that a symbol of my faith that we will complete your mission.
Doorknob gives Goatbeard a very thinly veiled death threat if his inquisitorial fucking around on the planet needlessly threatens more Dark Angels. And as an aside, I kind of thought this may have been referencing The Fallen when I first watched this movie, i.e. I will kill you if it turns out we uncover some Fallen shit. The earliest references that I could see claim to be in the Citadel Journal 19, where the rules for 2nd edition 40k are laid out, and that came out in '97, 1 year after this movie. And I can't help but feel kind of amazed that this is the first portrayal of 40k during its 1st edition, when the game lore was extremely different. Anyway, we then get a screen wipe, and Captain That's Right, I Just Threatened to Kill an Inquisitor to his face and dared him to do something about it, Darius, and oh boy, here I go killing again Krieger, descend via a very different looking kind of drop pod. We then get a few shots of ruins that hold the relic, and we then see a Chaos Marine in the ruins, and I don't know if they had all of the Chaos Legions yet, but he definitely looks like a World Eater. Back in the ship's astropath comes to the Admiral with a message from the Ordo Malleus. The Ordo Psychers tell the Admiral that the energy field that they've been bombarding is actually meant to keep things in and not out. And if that device that the group set off to get is most likely a Chaos artifact, and that he needs to recall Darius and Krieger immediately. The Admiral tells the astropath that he can't signal them because of the energy field surrounding the planet. And the astropath gives him this raw-ass line.
Very well, Admiral. A fleet of Ordo Malleus battle cruisers, 4 regiments of space marines, and 3 companies of Grey Knights and myself are on their way to Gaius Prime. If the energy field should break down, and anything other than the Inquisitor and the Marines emerge, your bravery will be noted.
Okay, I'm just gonna pause it right here real quick. For those of you who have lives, let me quickly explain what I just said. So the Ordo Malleus are a wing of the Inquisition, which have power to do whatever the hell they want. They specialize in demon hunting. The astropath is a powerful magic user called a Psyker, and is in charge of navigating the fleet through the warp, aka Hell. Since all members of the Inquisition can use magic, the astropath contacts, using magic, a representative of the Ordo Malleus. All caught up? Good. The Goon Squad then lands on the planet and makes its way to what looks a lot like a Necron structure, which is insane because at this point, Necrons did not exist in 40k lore. They were called Chaos androids, and wouldn't be introduced until way later in White Dwarf 217. But anyway, the group enters the not Necron pylon. We then get a shot of our Chaos boy busting a fat fucking nut, and he's saying how long he's been trapped in the not pylon. They enter the not pylon, and the Inquisitor remembers the place, and then he says that they must delve deeper. Darius sends Brother Adderall to watch the entrance. No man better for the job. We then cut to our definitely World Eater talking about how he wants to be freed. We cut back to Brother Adderall looking like me when I step outside and realize I forgot my headphones, and I'm in the process of debating whether or not I should go for them. Suddenly, a hand comes out of the wall and pulls him in. As the Coronite Marines are not going to be gentle. We then cut back to the boys, and Darius calls up Adderall, and another Marine, we'll just call him Valium, says that the not pylon may be interfering with their comms. So Darius sends Brother Valium and Brother Ritalin, leaving Krieg, Brother Darius, and Brother Ketamine. Krieg says that he feels that they are near where they are supposed to be. Brother Ritalin attempts to call Darius but cannot signal him, and Brother Valium agrees that the comms are being jammed and suggests that they go tell Darius in person.
Communications are being compromised. We will track back to report Brother Adriel's disappearance. Remain vigilant.
Suddenly they are attacked by World Eaters, using guns? Darius hears the bolter fire and says that they must go help the others, but Krieger just kind of fucks off deeper into the ruins. After putting up a good fight, Valium and Ritalin are both slain. Darius and Ketamine find Krieger, and Krieger explains that the ruins are actually a chaos containment beacon. It's not a Necron pylon, guys, I swear. Krieger explains that when he came down on the first mission, he took it apart not knowing what it was, which he doesn't know how to put back together. Suddenly, a Space Marine hand comes through the wall, and a World Eater jumps out of it and hits Ketamine. Darius no-scopes him, but not before Brother Ketamine is taken. Darius then gets his hand shot off as our big bad comes out and grabs him. The big bad tells Krieger something. I can't make it out. Krieger regains his memory and knows how to turn on the pylon by removing the keys he had put in during the first mission.
Say the line!
Krieger.
I remember you, heretic!
As Krieger starts to pull the keys apart, a fleshhound starts popping through the wall. Darius realizes that removing the key will turn off the pylon, so Krieger starts to put it back together. He replaces the key and the Corn Boys are sent back into the warp. We get a heroic shot of the not pylon and the movie ends. Apparently, it was available for purchase during Warhammer Day back for a limited time, and were apparently made from clips that had been used to pitch a full-blown 40k movie. This is a pretty good 40k story, and I just want to say how good these costumes look, considering that the team only had 11 people credited, and the production studio doesn't exist anymore unless it became a Filipino production team. I'd say that this movie punches well above its weight, and whether or not you're into 40k, I say go check it out. I mean, the movie itself is only like 24 minutes long. Oh, yeah, and one last thing for those of you who stayed this long, the movie also had some trailers from 2 other movies at the very end. The first one is Hive Infestation, which would have followed a team of Space Wolf Terminators going through a gene stealer cult. The second was called Blood for the Blood God, which had the Dark Angels fighting orcs. All in all, I really liked watching Inquisitor, and I'd recommend that you do the same. It's a neat little story for those of you who don't like 40k, and it's a glimpse back into the before times for all of us Zoomers who play the game now, and probably a nostalgia trip for the OG 40k nerd who may have seen this movie almost 3 decades ago. Well, that's it for this one, and like I said, I'm going to be trying to do a Warhammer vid every Wednesday, and that in an attempt to give myself an actual video schedule. And yeah, I'm not the best at that, so thanks for sticking around. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.